I love your idea of compounding because it applies in everything. People always talk about financial compounding, but it applies everywhere. And no matter what book you read on success, it's all a little different variation of those daily habits that might be easy, but not simple to do all the time, that build over time.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't amass your wealth or your career reputation in a month or even a year. It's not sexy, right? We would put all the people to sleep at some of those dinner parties explaining, how you maintain great physical shape and what you do. And everybody wants to hear about the cool thing that's, the ice bath that you do or the whatever. And it's like, yeah, I get up every day. I stretch a little bit. I write, I spend some time to myself. I lift weights. I eat clean. I avoid unnecessary alcohol. They're like, yeah, where's the cool story though?
Cool story is now you're living at the largest level and living in the now. And that's the cool story.
My name is Brian Pannuzzo. I'm an executive coach that helps successful professionals get wealthy outside of the office in their mind, their body, and their relationships. I'm an expert at this because I did it myself. I sat in your seat inside of corporate America for 2 decades. If I can do it, so can you. Welcome back to the show. This is the Success Lift podcast. I'm your host, Brian, and we have a slightly different show for you this week. If you have been a veteran, an avid, long-time listener of the show, an OG, as they say, you will remember that I used to do a lot of interviews. This show started out primarily as a conversation between myself and other highly successful professionals. It was my hope to bring their perspective to you so that you could understand that there are so many other people out there just like you who are operating at a really, really high level, but maybe are doing things that you have decided for some reason that you can't do, that your lifestyle doesn't allow you to, that you just don't have enough time, that if it was a different way, or if this circumstance or that circumstance, and blah, 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 and yada, yada, because your problems all chunk up to the same generic BS. And about a year or so ago, I decided to shift away from that format. I was 3-ish years into this relationship with me staring in front of a camera and or speaking into a microphone. And I got a little bit more confident. And I stopped having people on the show that were necessarily the original people that I intended to. And I started to have more coaches on and other people that did a lot of the same things that I did, or a specialist in one field. And I realized, what the hell am I doing? I'm the goddamn specialist. Like I say in the intro, I'm the expert. And so you come to listen to me because you feel in some way I can influence you and I got the goods and you want some. And so why would I continually bring on people who are also experts to dilute me, to dilute my product? And so I decided I had a lot more on my mind and I was just going to speak into the mic, look at the camera, and talk to you a little bit more. And that's what I've been doing for a while. And we've had 1 or 2 guest episodes with former clients since, but in general, it's been a solo podcast. That format will absolutely stay in existence, and it will be the predominant way that I communicate with you on this show. But every once in a while, maybe once a month or so, or once every 6 weeks, or I don't know what the exact cadence is going to be, I am going to have either an existing or former client on the show, because I want you to get an idea of who the people that I work with are and what they do and how they're pretty darn normal. Yet they tend to be elite in areas of their life. And so this week, I could not possibly think of a better set of people, not just one. You're getting 2 for the price of 1 this week. And I have a phenomenal conversation with my friends Sue and Tom Lavin. They are very successful entrepreneurs. They are extremely fun. They are a couple that I, not even jokingly, say I want to be when I grow up. They have an amazing relationship. They have kids who adore them. They go really cool places. They've been wildly successful in business. They're both fit as hell, and they're a whole lot of fun. And Sue's even from Jersey, which is really why I love them. And so this week, you're going to get to hear from two people that have spent time working with me, that know exactly what it's like to be inside of my programs, to see some of the benefits of the things that we do. And you get to hear their perspective, not only on their experience working with me, but their experience in life and the things that they enjoy and the challenges that they have, because we all have them. So without further ado, it's been a long time since I introduced a guest, but welcome to the conversation with Sue and Tom Lavin. Sue and Tom, welcome to the Success Love podcast. I'm so excited to talk to both of you today. How are we doing?
Great. Thanks. We're excited to be here.
Yeah, same. Doing great.
We were just saying before I hit record that I need to make it more of a habit to highlight successful people in my ecosystem who come through my program. And to be fair, you guys were wildly successful way before you spent any time with me, which I said this to Sue a lot, Tom. When I grow up, I want to be you guys. Not because you're older than me, but because you guys are role models for I think a lot of people, especially me, as I got to know you more and more. So we'll get into that. You guys will share a little bit of your story. Before we dig in a little bit, I'm very excited for everyone to get to know you a little bit and hear about your story. So just give us a quick overview. Who the heck are you guys? And then we'll talk about how you found me and go from there.
Great. So you can start.
I can start. Well, I'm a mom of 3. I have adult kids. We have been married. This is our 30th anniversary year. We've known each other for 33 years. We've had really a great marriage. Of course, the normal ups and downs. We have great children. Of course, the normal ups and downs. I was in pharmaceutical sales when I met Tom, and that's how we met 33 years ago. And I was fortunate enough to be able to stay home and raise our 3 kids. And now that they're all raised, they're 24, 26, and 28. And I help him in his businesses, some of his real estate stuff, some of our residential real estate stuff, and kind of hold down the fort.
That's great.
Yeah. How did you manage to get a chick from Jersey to pay attention?
Yeah, right. Yeah. I'm an Ohio boy that moved south, and I got lucky enough. Sue was a rep with Merck. I was a surgeon in residency, and we met, flirted during one of her presentations to 30 male residents. It was just kind of the her and me show, flirting with each other during the show, and started right after that. Kind of had a great first date, talked about our life and traveling the world and having fun. The first night, we were pretty hammered at the Maple Leaf Inn in New Orleans. So, and it's been, like Sue said, an incredible, it's been 33 years, lots of ups and downs, way more ups. I told her, welcome to the roller coaster, it'll never be boring. But no, our personalities are a lot alike. We live life, large. We grab things by the horns and go. And we're both firstborns, and it shows up in each end of our zest for life and our excitement for life.
Our need for fun, adventure, laughter.
You guys love your fun and adventure. We'll talk a little bit about that too. That's one of the reasons why I admire you of the many. I didn't realize this was how big Pharma weaseled their way into the Dr. Collins. I thought it was just, payoffs and dinners and free trips. No, it was bringing good looking girls into the office, Now it's the real scoop.
Yeah.
How did you, I know how you found me, but just talk about how you found me. I guess you're a mutual friend. We don't have to go into that two details. My good friend and existing client still to this day, Jeff Brown. You reached out to me. Talk a little bit about, what was going on in your life, because on the surface, even when I talked to you originally, now I've been doing this long enough, and you guys have been doing what you do long enough to know all we need to do is peel back the layers of anything, and you start to realize, oh, okay, there's more, underneath the surface here. But on the surface, you guys seem to have a lot going on. That's really well. You're not obese. You have, multiple homes. You travel. You have very successful businesses. What do you need a coach for, guys? So how'd you find me? And more importantly, more contextual, what was going on where you felt the need to reach out and work with somebody?
Well, I was just scrolling on Instagram and I saw that, Jeff had posted a podcast that he did with you. And I said, well, that's interesting. And I started listening to it. I'm like, because I know Jeff is, he's athletic. He does crazy stuff. That's how I met him in the first place. Did some crazy thing out here in Utah. And I'm like, wow, this guy is in good shape and he has a health coach. We need a health coach. Like, why don't we have a health coach? And I brought it to Tom and I made him watch the podcast. And he's like, this sounds great. Let's do it. And, it's easy in your life everyone is busy. And sometimes you fall off the rail. And he was working really hard. He was a full-time surgeon, has really a lot of medical, he's a lot of, what do you call it? Healthcare companies and real estate development. And was working. And I felt like he needs to start taking care of himself. Cause I know I made him start talking about retirement. He was talking about retirement for several years. And I'm like, okay, you got to put a date to this. And he did. And I said, okay, now's the time we're going to get back in shape. Because we've been in great shape in different periods of our life, but it's easy sometimes to fall off the wagon. Luckily, never for very long. But I said, let's get a health coach and get accountable to somebody for both of us. And so that's kind of how it all started.
Yeah. So Sue brought you, and her being a New Jersey person and your New Jersey background.
I immediately related.
Yeah, she related. So, and like Sue said, we've had periods where we're in great shape and then we're not in as great a shape. And this was for me, it was not as great a shape. She's much better at staying steady with it. And I was working too much with everything I had going on. And so, and also we all have these blind spots in our life where you think everything is perfect, but you're missing it, or you're falling into bad habits, like watching Netflix for hours every night and drinking wine every night. And we need kind of a restart to pull us out, reassess, get back to our health. And so it was the right time.
Yeah. I take full credit for getting you out of your surgical career, by the way, because that happened on my watch.
You did.
Happened on my watch. It's my victory. That's what I'm sticking with.
Yeah.
My story. We'll talk a little bit about that too, but I guess, like, expand upon that if you don't mind, because that's something that I fell into too inside of my corporate career. And, things get easy, the falling off the wagon, getting caught up with. I find the two biggest lies that, people like us, successful professionals who really dive headfirst into career and stay there for a long time. And when I say career, I mean running a household, Sue. I mean running, real estate, businesses, running a surgical practice. We say we don't have enough time, which time is finite and we all are very busy. But I think, as you guys experience, there are ways to manipulate and manage and better structure your time, as Tom mentioned, not watching Netflix all the time or something like that. And then also the other one is, like, which is a little bit more broad to me, but it's like, in one I was super guilty of. It's like, we all just assume that this is how life has to be. We have to have the drinks when we go out. We have to constantly be busy. We have to have, bodies that we're like, it's not bad, but is it great? Am I, like, super proud of myself when I'm, like, drying myself off out of the shower? I put that nice dress on or the 2-piece on or whatever. At least I did. You guys speak for yourselves, please. I just assumed that was like the cost of doing business. Is that how you ever felt, or how did you feel about, the ascension of your career? And you never seemed like you got too far off the rails, but why not have focused just on, the entire picture as it appears to me you're doing now too?
For me, I always try to reassess where I am, and have long realized that, I'm my most important asset to work on, whether it's physical, mental, reading, and all of that. And when I'm doing that, it seems like I'm moving on. But like you said, you always fall off the wagon. You don't do that consistently through your life. So there are periods where you fall off. And I was definitely in kind of falling off from a physical standpoint. And so this was a great time to get back, and we're super energized and healthy, and really trying to continue to set goals moving forward. So
Yeah, it's easy to get off balance in with work life, and especially Tom. He's such a hard worker. I mean, he's amazing the way you can balance all of that. But even when the kids were little, I'd sometimes say, "Hello, like we're here, come back," and it was just, he would just get off balance, and I'd say, "Hey, And sometimes it was my fault. I'd forget to tell him when there was a Christmas show, or forget to tell him that. And then I'm like, okay, it's 3 months. You need to get back into the family. We need to start, going for walks in the evenings and whatever we needed to do to kind of get back together, exercise. And really, since we've been dating, we kind of always did things physically together and mentally together.
Right. We wrap our vacations around what kind of physical fitness, like climbing mountains and things like that. We're not going to go on a cruise and like step out and see the guys or get back on your bus or something like that. Not our right kind of vacation. So,
you guys, so there's an approach in building a bond portfolio, which is what I used to trade, called the barbell approach. You buy the short end, you buy the long end, just like a barbell, right? The weights are on both sides. You guys just have an incredible barbell approach of croissants and hiking in
yeah. So, right.
We meet her.
So I guess, well, maybe a little bit more, maybe Tom, from your perspective, because I'm curious about this, right? Like Sue mentioned, and neglect is not the right word, but let's just call it, general neglect for, staying on top of your fitness, staying on top of really being solidly connected to the family, right? Like I can speak for myself. I never neglected work for that long. Like, why do you think, mostly guys, mostly career men, why do you think we, don't neglect work for long periods of time, and we neglect our health? We maybe neglect the connection that we truly desire with our wives or with our kids. We're there enough, right? We check enough of the boxes. I never missed anything major, but I was always sort of, trying to see what's going on my phone, or checking something, or mentally not where my feet are. Any idea why you had moments like that, or why people in general, like us, men like us, tend to do that?
I think guys, you're quite a bit younger than me, but from that era, it was all about the guy has to be the provider. And back when we were growing up, I went to high school, went to college, went to med school, went to residency, started work, worked my ass off. So it was a constant, no time off. You're going to, do it. And this long work period where you definitely get out of balance. So relationships fall by the wayside. Physical health falls by the wayside. But you're right, that I was always on that train of becoming a doctor, becoming successful, and I never neglected that, but a lot of other things fell apart. I think that's how we were raised. I think that was the era. And at this point in my life, to look back, and for good or bad, I mean, it's the past, it happened, but I don't want that. I want a balance. I want, Sue and my relationship be the greatest, and I want to have our health be the greatest for as long as possible. So a little bit of maturity and a little bit of, that's how our parents pushed back then. Everybody was on this race to success, whatever that is.
I totally agree with what you said. And I think also it's like how society looks at us and judges us, right? So with, you and I both, as we call it in basketball, we're playing above the rim with our wives. We found much better looking partners than we are. Outkicking your coverage is the term.
Yeah, outkick the coverage.
Outkick the coverage, right, in football. And so, like, on the surface, she already knows. Yeah, we get it to cover her. She already knows. Like, people would look at my life on the surface. Good looking wife. We're presentable, very presentable, more than presentable in public. We're not, the couple that has a couple drinks at dinner at a couple's dinner party and then starts chirping at each other about all our problems with each other, right? We were very put together in public. We had good looking kids. We had a beautiful family. We had, we went on really nice vacations, multiple homes. You guys are traveling everywhere. And it's like, if you look on the surface, successful medical professional, side hustle businesses, good looking wife, good looking family, they travel places, massive success. But if maybe I'm thinking in my head, like, maybe if I let my career slip and I didn't have as good of a job and I couldn't afford some of the other things, then all of a sudden it's like, well, that's an obvious ding on my scorecard to the public that I value their perception of. I'm thinking out loud right now of why I, let certain things in my life lapse, but I never let my career lapse.
Right.
I had unproductive days at the office, but I never missed the gym on the trading desk for 2 weeks at a time or 3 weeks at a time, or had 27 cheat meals in a month, right? Cheat meals in a month on the desk type of thing.
I think one of the things, as maritally, one of the things I think that helped us, and I don't know if we read this in a book when we were in our 20s, right after we got married, but always in the beginning of the year. I mean, Tom has a diary of this for the last probably 29, 30 years of us sitting down in January, and we would take a yellow pad of paper. He always has a yellow pad on him. And we'd have 4 quadrants, and we would always go over our goals. And it would be like our family goals, our physical goals, our spiritual goals, and our mental goals. And financial goals. And we always did that. And we still to this day do that. And that just kind of always kept us semi in balance. And if we got out of balance 3 months, 4 months, we'd come back and like, let's, what do we talk about this year? So that kind of always helped, kept us physically, financially, family, like what vacations we want to take as a family, that kind of thing. And we still do that.
And we revisit. It was just once a year. We'd revisit, make sure you're on track.
Mm-hmm.
You're always, on track in one area, and you're fall a little off track right there. So yeah,
I absolutely love that. Your core, I talk about Waze a lot and the GPS and following the directions, but you have to have coordinates that you put in.
Sure.
So GPS is your destination, so that you can sort of reverse engineer the turn by turns. And then, the manual process of you going back and looking at, like we used to print out the MapQuest directions, right? And we would be in the car and Sue would be yelling at you from the passenger seat. We're not supposed to go this way. And you're like, I know where I'm going. Sure we do.
GPS has solved so many
so many arguments. Yeah. It's saved my ego so much. It's unbelievable. But it's like, we don't ever take time to go back and look at the directions, I'm off course,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing that you do that, because that's effectively one of the, as you guys know, I think one of the foundational components of how we work together, how I work with people, whether it's a team of executives, whether it's an entire company, or whether it's, individuals inside of corporate America, like yourselves. And so if you don't have a destination to wake up and drive to every single day, you kind of get lost in this. I didn't realize I was off track, for so long. So I absolutely love that. I love that. Love that you keep coming back to it as well. I want to talk to Tom quickly about, Sue was in great shape when you guys hired me. She had a lot of setbacks, but she didn't have to do a whole lot. She's just blessed. She has great DNA. She works hard.
Yeah.
And she's great. You made a pretty cool physical transformation. You lost a bunch of weight. You put on some lean muscle. You look fit as hell. While let's lay out all the facts here, and you can correct me. While you left a 30-ish year career, right? While you traveled, you guys were never in the same place, it seemed to me, for more than a week at a time. While you spent time with kids, while you spent time together, while you socialized. I mean, literally almost every reason, save, not having kids up late at night, keeping you up because they're babies or something, every excuse to struggle. Yet once you locked in, you were like, if it was 3 years ago, I would have felt insecure and tried to overcoach you. But I was like, we would get on the phone sometimes and I'd be like, okay, but just keep doing what you're doing, Tom. How can I hold you accountable this week? How can I support you? Sometimes the best thing you can do is just get out of a person's way that's executing. So just talk about some of the habits you found, some of the routines, what worked for you. What have you still taken with you? What do you struggle with still? Just general context, because your transformation for me was really cool to watch, because you had so much going on. You weren't 50 pounds overweight, but you also, but you were also in a spot where you were in that good enough spot where you could have decided to go, you know what, this is a season of career transition. This is a season of travel with my wife. This is a season of winter sports in Utah. This is a season, you know what I mean? You could have had a lot of excuses and you didn't.
Yeah, no, you were a big help for me to start setting my priorities, to get my workouts done in the morning, getting on the protein, and the AG1 and the protein, and starting my day with a workout. And once I got it going, I also played a lot of sports. I wrestled in high school and college, so I've been in and out of shape off and on throughout my whole life, and competed. So I always tell Sue, like, sports and teach kids such great lessons, man. So you got me to make sure that I made working out a priority in the morning, and eating right and getting off a lot of the processed foods. And once it kicks in, and then I'm like, okay, I'm going back to a place I've been before, but at 62, to develop a lot of muscle mass and really get lean, that was a big goal for me. And it was great. So that just, once I got the parties right from you as far as how I'm going to do it, and also the time thing is bunch of nonsense. I mean, we it's where you put your time, and there's so many time wasters in everyone's life. Like for us, watching Netflix and for 4 hours a night and drinking a bottle of wine. Well, that was kind of fun for a week or two, but once you get a couple of years into that, you're like, probably not the most healthy way to move forward. So we kind of changed a lot of that, pulled back the alcohol, and really got working out in the morning. So that really changed, and I appreciate you for that.
I love it. I love it. You killed it, man. You continue to. I think, like, for you, what I saw was a lot of the changes you made were things that you're going to keep doing and that you will take on and continue with. I always say, or I say a lot to people, it's like the road to mastery, right? Where this becomes it just becomes what you do. It's not what you do to get to a goal. It's just what you do, and then maybe your routine isn't as strict. I don't know, but like, you're going to wake up and you're going to, you're going to journal, you're going to stretch, you're going to read, you're going to get your workout in, you're going to do your greens, you're going to get your protein in. It's like, these things are just what you do. You find that there's, greens and protein at the house in Utah. And then you take your travel packs with you to Europe. And it's like, yeah, I pack my underwear and I pack my protein and I do this and I do, like, it's just what I do. And so, Alan, which you guys can appreciate, I love to play golf. And so there are some times where I go on golf trips with my buddies from New Jersey, and it's like, I have my athletic greens, I have a protein shake, at 7 a.m. I do a few push-ups, I stretch a little bit, and at 7:45, I'm pouring my first vodka, because we're on a trip. And it's like, but for me, that's my foundation for the day. Maybe, it's a very short routine, but it's a routine for today. And maybe it's a longer one. It's just like, when you're able to take the things that you do to achieve a goal and transfer them to just the things that you do, I think that's when people, have tremendous success. So I love that. Sue, you didn't have a massive physical transformation because you didn't need one, but you experienced a bunch of hiccups along the way, from a physical standpoint. You
did.
have fallen in ditches,
Crazy year, yeah.
For lack of a better phrase. So we don't have to get into the details of those, but like, you were always, upbeat. You were always like, I'm going to do what I can. We were always, and I say we, I just mean me verbally and mostly Tom, putting the reins on you of like, yo, chill, like, we don't need to go hike 10 miles today or do this or go dancing yet, like, just relax. So fortunately you had a trained medical professional living in your house. But like, talk a little bit about your mindset around just always doing to me, it just felt like you were always doing what you can. Like, what can I do? Not like, yeah, I'm sure you had moments of sitting on the couch and bring me a book and some wine and life sucks. And,
I had a pity party, but I always kept things in perspective because they were, like you said, they were hiccups. They were pain in the neck hiccups where I couldn't do what I was used to doing physically. I'm very physically active. I have a hard time sitting still. Even reading a book, I'd rather listen to a podcast or listen to a book and keep moving and walking. It's hard for me to sit still. And he may be a medical professional, but I always tell him, you're not the boss of me. And he knows that.
Yeah, I kind of laughed when you said that. Like, she's not listening to me. So, yeah.
Well, I may have been speaking to one specific event where it was very good. It was very, very
Obvious,
appropriate that you were a doctor telling her what to do.
Yes.
Otherwise, I don't.
Oh yeah. Right.
My Tasha will just clown on me all the time. She's like, so I heard on this Instagram video that if you get your protein up and you walk a lot, you take steps, you can really transform. And I'm like, you can see my jaw. And like, how do I not know she's screwing with me? I'm like, and I'm ready to go. Are you kidding me? What are you doing? I've been telling you this for the last 3 years. And she's like, so, oh my gosh. Yeah. Has absolutely nothing to do with me, but nothing to do with you either. So,
you just keep things in perspective when you have hiccups along the way and saying, you know what, I'm blessed. I don't have cancer. I don't have sick kids. You just always look at the positive aspects of your life and realizing this too will pass and I'll be fine. I'll be able to do my bicep curls after my golfer's elbow goes away. I'll be able to, start running again when my toe issue goes away. And it's working out. So it's the year goes fast.
I love it. I'd love to hear your perspective on, prioritizing each other. And so from my view, you guys are everywhere, all over the place. I know you spend a lot of time together, but I also know that we were sort of kind of game planning. A lot of times you guys are very social creatures and you were always out and you were entertaining people in various different places or meeting couples out or going to Mardi Gras stuff or Jazz Fest stuff or whatever. Talk about prioritizing each other and spending connected time with each other, because I'm sure there's a strategy to do that for you guys. It just appeared to me all the time that you guys were partying with somebody else. You guys were going somewhere else. Anything that you guys do maybe historically or maybe now that you didn't do to make sure that you guys stay connected with each other?
We hike a lot out here. When we're in Utah, we are hiking. A lot of times people don't want to hike with us.
I can see that.
They're a little challenging. They're kind of crazy. And we enjoy the rock climbing and the steep hills. And we kind of time ourselves. We're very competitive, not with each other, but competitive. Can we do this faster this time? So we spend a lot of time hiking together. We walk in the evenings together. We walk our dog together 3 times a day.
We plan our trips together, but really from early on, we always took time. Like when the kids came in, kids can be, overwhelming, as we all know, but we needed breaks and we both knew that. And so we'd schedule a night out in New Orleans or get a babysitter and we'd go to the Ritz or somewhere and have time. So that was even going back.
And they were 5 months old.
Years,
yeah. They were babies. And I'd say, okay, mom needs 24-hour break. I need to get out of New Orleans and it's going to be you and I, we're going on a date and it's going to be a 24-hour one.
So now it's hiking in Switzerland or hiking anywhere around here in Utah. And
I'm planning Dolomites already for next year. Hiking Dolomites next year in Italy.
Yeah.
So can't keep you guys down. I love that. I think that's one thing, like even at my kid's age, right? Hudson's about to be 15 and Mila's 10. I feel like my entire life is now Uber driver, driving to practice, driving here, driving there, tournaments on the weekends, cheerleading and all this stuff. To be honest, one night a week is usually not possible for Tasha and I between our schedules. And I think a lot of young couples set themselves up to fail because if you hear a dating guru or you go online or whatever, it's like date night once a week, mandatory. Now, I do think that is possible for people if you can set it up and really stick to it. But I also think it's hard for others. And so why not take the approach of, building small habits at that compound and start once a month. And everyone's got once a month, especially when you put it on the calendar today for 3 weeks from now. And then, one little trick that Jeff I learned from Jeff. Jeff plans his next adventure on his current adventure, where he plans his next vacation on, because you think about it, the endorphins are high. You're like, this is the greatest thing we've ever done. How many times have you guys been on vacation? You're like, we need to do this once a quarter, not once a year.
Yeah.
But, so, little tricks like that, I don't think people use enough. So I love that. Italy next year. I like it.
Yeah. Hiking the Dolomites.
Awesome.
I love your idea of compounding because it applies in everything. People always talk about financial compounding, but it applies everywhere. And no matter what book you read on success, it's all a little different variation of those daily habits that might be easy, but not simple to do all the time, that build over time. So daily habits of us walking, spending time together, daily habits of reading or listening to podcasts, positive information going in. You're doing daily habits, and we've always knew that was good, but we fall off the wagon occasionally and then go back to it.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, you didn't amass your wealth or your career reputation in a month or even a year. It takes time. It's not sexy, right? We would put all the people to sleep at some of those dinner parties explaining, how you maintain great physical shape and what you do, and everybody wants to hear about the cool thing that's, the ice bath that you do or the whatever. And it's like, yeah, I get up every day. I stretch a little bit. I write. I spend some time to myself. I lift weights. I eat clean. I avoid unnecessary alcohol. They're like, yeah, where's the cool story though? Where's the cool story?
Cool stories now. You're living at the largest level and living in the now, and that's the cool story.
Yeah, well said. There's a book titled "Discipline Equals Freedom." It's by a ex-Navy SEAL named Jocko Willink, and the premise is like, when you have structured discipline in your life, it creates the ability for you to do. I mean, look at how structured and disciplined you guys were in your careers for so long. And now you're planning your next vacation after right after you just got back from your last epic one. You have the freedom to go places. You have the freedom to take off your shirt, to put on a tight dress for a cocktail party. You have the freedom when you have the discipline, when you execute the discipline of doing some of these things in our lives that we're like, right now in the moment, yeah, pour me another glass of wine and kick my feet up on the couch. I would much prefer that, So
yep, exactly.
Love that. What are some of the biggest differences for you guys this year, around this time versus last year, if any come to mind? Like what's different now? What's working for you? What are you still working on? Anything that comes to mind for you guys?
Well, for me, when we started, it was great having an accountability coach and having to write down. You helped me really increase my protein intake, because you'd be like, Sue, you're having like 22 grams of protein a day.
Bird food.
Yeah, it was just, bird food. And you really, with the protein. And also, I'm going to put it out there. It was easy, especially when we become empty nesters, to get in that habit of drinking wine every night, 7 days a week, and years can go by.
Mm.
And I just said, this is not good for me. I mean, this is every podcast tells you, and I just knew realistically, I didn't want to give it up 100%, but I just didn't want to, but I cut it out 50%. And fortunately, Tom felt the same way. And it was easy as a couple for us to say, okay, we're getting 4 days a week, 3 to 4 days a week. What are 3 to 4 days a week that we're just not having any alcohol? And when I used to tell my friends, like years ago, I'd say, okay, I'm having no alcohol today. Well, that meant 2 glasses.
Right.
That was 0 alcohol. And then finally, I had to say, okay, that really means 0 alcohol. And that started last December, and it's great.
Yeah.
You just feel so better. You forget how great you feel waking up without having had even 2 glasses of wine the night before.
It's so annoying. It really is.
It is. Yeah.
It's like the more we experience it, and the more analytical you are, about it, you're like, well, yeah, how can I ignore this? And so I always get this friction from people where alcohol is a significant part of their lives, and they either know it and don't want to recognize it, or sometimes it sounds silly, but sometimes, to your point, when 0 means 2, I don't know, you're being playful there, but you're not. I get it. I get it. So like sometimes it's unconscious, and I found too, like especially with a lot of the type of people that I work with, where they have meaningful situations where they sort of, now again, I'm gonna play both sides here with my words. You don't just have to do anything. You can always choose to not drink.
But I get it, and so do you guys. There are some situations where it might actually affect a business transaction. It might be like really strange for you not to enjoy yourself, or at least appear to be doing what everybody else is doing. And rather than running into that wall every single time, I find so many people give away, Tuesday night when you guys just go sit at the bar at one of your favorite restaurants and split a steak. It's like, well, you don't need 2 glasses of wine each on Tuesday night. You could allocate those 2 to Friday, along with the ones on Wednesday or Monday at the house that you just have one while you're watching TV. And all of a sudden, you've given yourself room for 3 or 4 extra drinks on the weekend. And we're net, at least at worst case, in the same place, because those, bigger events aren't always happening every single week. So I find people go into the Mardi Gras of their lives, and they're like, I got to figure out how I can keep alcohol down in this thing. I'm like, why would you ever try to cut alcohol in this particular situation? Why don't you cut it on Tuesday night, every Tuesday, So a lot of times it's those little pickups. It's the unconscious moments that people find where they're like, oh yeah, I don't have to do this. There is another way.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. It works for us,
And you feel so much better. And the less I drink, the less I'm really driven to drink. It's much easier over time. So
yeah. And the less we, yes, drinking a lot and eating, chicken, broccoli, and sweet potato could go together, but when do they ever really go together? So we tend to eat, with lower quality foods, higher calorie, all stuff.
Right.
Man, I appreciate you guys. You guys are so much fun to work with. I'm serious when I say when I grow up, I want to be like you guys. I really do.
Well, we're continually changing too. Like, we're always trying to improve our relationship, our health, our everything, add excitement to our lives. So, you can never go complacent and be satisfied. Like, I'm happy right now, but we're always working on each other. So.
Yeah, go ahead, Sue. Did you want to say something?
No, I was just saying you'll be hearing from us. I mean, we're around.
Yeah. Well, I'll always be checking in on you guys. But that goes to show it's like you too. You're a moving target, which is cool. Which I find attractive and motivating. It's like if you just sort of kick back and said, "Oh, this is it, we did it." Like that wouldn't be that exciting to me. I'd chase you down, in no time. But I don't know if I can, which is part of the allure of me, like coming for you. Oh, so I love that. I appreciate you both. Thank you guys for being on.
Thank you, Brian.
Appreciate everyone listening, and we'll talk to you guys next week.